I think I got a vendetta. Oh, now they call me, I seen them. All of those times getting severed. I told them all I get let up. They ain't not taught me never.
My God, it's astonishing. The way this car accelerates, it's phenomenally good.
What I seen, you wouldn't believe it. They said they wanted, I need it. Damn.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Car and Bike. I'm Bilal, sitting behind the wheel of the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, and the more specific, the C300. So this current generation of C-Class was launched in India almost 2 years ago. Now, like every other car in the Mercedes-Benz India's lineup, this one too has received a model year update. So this 2024 Mercedes-Benz C-Class, it has its flagship replaced. Earlier it was a C300D, but now the diesel is out and here comes the C300 petrol. So in this video, you and I will be taking a detailed look at the engine, how good it is, and all the changes that this model year update brings with it. And we'll also discuss whether or not you should consider buying the C300 in this MY 2024 C-Class. But before we go ahead, do consider subscribing to the Car and Bike YouTube channel. And if you like this video, which I'm sure you definitely will, do hit that like button and share it forward as well. एंड अगर आपको ये वीडियो हिंदी में भी देखना है तो आप हमारे हिंदी चैनल कार एंड बाइक हिंदी पे जाके ये वीडियो आप अपनी पसंद के लैंग्वेज में भी देख सकते हैं. Now let's begin with the highlight of this MY24 update to the C-Class. It's the C300. You continue to get the older two engines, the C200 and the C220D, which was launched with the C-Class almost 2 years ago. Now at that time, the most expensive version was the C300D, which is discontinued now and you can't buy it anymore. But it's replaced by this, the C300. Now you have almost 260 horsepower and 400 Newton meter. And with that increased horsepower, you might expect the engine to be gruffed up a bit. And let me tell you, it has. It is slightly more vibey and slightly more aggressive in its nature, but you won't notice it up front. The ambient insulation is so good and the way the engine is managed, it's really brilliant. But more importantly, it's the characteristics of this engine that's really impressive. Under sedate driving condition or your everyday commutes, the engine feels refined and it's churning away under 1000 or 1500 RPM, but you do feel that power reserve it has. You really don't know how the engine can feel so smooth, so refined, so powerful, and yet so lovable without even unleashing it. And when you do unleash it, the Mr. Hyde version of Dr. Jekyll, it makes itself prominent quite apparently, and it transforms the entire nature of the engine and the entire nature of this car instantly, and that smile that it plasters on your face, it's really addictive. The urgency in the way the tachometer races towards the red line, it just proves that how modern cars require a digital tachometer, because the analog tachometer just simply couldn't keep up the way this engine revs. Under 1500 RPM, the characteristic is really subdued and quite calm and not exactly sporty, but past 2000 RPM, it's fast, it's phenomenal, it's brutal even. It goes aggressive, and if your passenger is caught off guard, the brutal acceleration might really take them by a big surprise. All of that acceleration is backed up by some serious soundtrack as well. It's no pops and bangs, but the aggressive and that angry sound and burble at the back, it's really good, and I wouldn't mind having that over a V8's burble, right? And for everyday drivability, a 48-volt mild hybrid also helps you chug along, and there are fuel saving measures as well. So this car is a really good car for your everyday needs. Now as for the gearbox, it really complements the engine as well. It's the usual 9-speed unit which is available across Mercedes lineup. It's a seamless unit. It goes through the gears quite seamlessly. You never know when it's shifting up or down the cog, and it does that quite frequently because there are 9 gears to row in, and depending on your throttle input, it always chooses how it needs to perform, be it efficiency or performance. But if I have to nitpick, it's sometimes, but only sometimes, when you're going down the gears, you do feel that jerks of those downshifts. But otherwise, this gearbox is seamless and it really does its job well. Now, there are 3 drive modes. per usual, you have the Eco, which is slightly subdued, but the Comfort mode, which is your everyday mode, which is the standard mode, it's good enough for your everyday needs. And it doesn't feel subdued even if you're driving in the Comfort mode. You can go aggressive and you can feel all those acceleration, all those adrenaline-filled acceleration, even in the Comfort mode. But if you do still want to go fast and you want the throttle to be slightly more aggressive and the steering to be slightly more weighted, you do have the Sports and the Sport Plus mode. As for the steering, it is light and it is too light for my liking. But as you pick up space, it does weigh up nicely. Especially in the sport mode, it feels the heaviest in the sport mode. Although being light at slow speed, it is still quite quick. Going just about 2 turns lock to lock, you have good feedback from the steering. You know exactly when you are gunning it or when you are driving it aggressively, you know exactly what your wheels are doing. That adds to the fun persona of the C300. But more importantly, there is good amount of mechanical grip, especially from those tires. And if you are trying to hooning it around, then you can actually switch off the ESP and all the power going to the rear wheels. It will definitely see you some side actions. Not recommended, but it's definitely fun. Lastly, we come to the ride quality, and I would be so glad to say that it is pliant and smooth and it goes flat, but it does that only on the smoothest and the flawless surfaces. Its 18-inch AMG spec wheels are wrapped with 225/45 section Pirelli tires and do offer quite stiff ride, which is noticeable to your passengers as well. Now, the damping is on the stiffer side, as I said, but it aids the handling, as I mentioned earlier. But when you do encounter some really bad road surfaces, which I have thanks to this monsoon, the passenger sitting with you would tell you that, can you please avoid those bumps and potholes please, because it is getting a bit uncomfortable here. But on the upside, speed breakers didn't bother me much though, and if you go through them really slowly, the underbelly won't give you a reason to complain either. Now to sum it up, the C300 with its instantaneous acceleration, its quick and precise steering, all the electronic aids that doesn't let you make a fool of yourself, and a ride quality that isn't too bad, with all the soundtrack as well, who needs a C63, right? Now after the powertrain, let's take a look at all the changes or the feature addition that this model year update brings with it. So the first feature addition that the model year update gets across the C-Class lineup is the ventilated and heated front seats. Now both the passenger and the driver gets heating and cooling function. But when you turn them on, the buttons are placed here on the door. When you turn them on, they do make unnecessary noises. That's me complaining, because I have seen cars which are much more in the mass market and affordable segment. They have ventilation function which are much more quieter. And the C-Class's cabin, which is more planned and more insulated, you do hear the unnecessary noises of these seat ventilation. But on the front side, you can turn on both the heating and the ventilation at the same time and see the seats being confused whether to give you heat or cold. The next feature addition across the lineup is the inclusion of 360-degree camera in this MBUX system. It also works in conjunction with some of the ADAS feature. For example, when you pull up onto a stoplight, the front camera, it actually turns on and tells you or displays the signal onto the center console. For situation where you have low visibility, for example, not exactly usable but quite funky, and I won't mind having it. The next feature addition is the inclusion of the USB package that Mercedes likes to call it. You get now 6 USB ports, not 1, not 2, but 6 Type-C USB ports, 2 in the center console, 2 in the center armrest, and 2 here at the back for the rear passengers. They also have 100-watt fast charging capacity support as well. Now overall, the rest of the cabin, it hasn't gone any significant changes since it was first introduced here in India. You do get this massive touchscreen in the center, which is inspired by the bigger S-Class. You don't get this touchscreen or this design in the E-Class. You only get it in the C and the S. It's tilted towards the driver, is accessible, and overall it adds to the mature and the more modern feel of the C-Class. Even the space space and the fit and finish is top notch as you would expect from a 3.8 star. But this being an AMG version, you have the sportier bits as well. You do get this sportier steering wheel, you get metal inserts all around. So overall, although there are no significant changes to the cabin with this modular update, it doesn't need one. This cabin, it's more mature, it's more modern, and it also feels quite luxurious as well, especially at this price point. And it's worth every penny because what you get for this price, it's a baby S-Class experience. The cabin done, let's talk about the exterior now. Now, as for the exterior, the changes aren't very extensive. You do get a new blue paint scheme that you see here in this video. This blue replaces the older blue, and apart from that, there are changes to the headlamps and tail lamps as a part of the modular update. But that's all the changes that you get on the exterior. Why change something that isn't broken, right? Because in my opinion, this C-Class is the handsomest looking C-Class till date. It has a very aggressive stance, it looks good, and that's the battle half won, right? Like all the modular updates we saw with Mercedes-Benz cars recently, you do get a new signature for headlamps. Now, Mercedes has included digital LED headlamps for the C-Class here, which gets 1.3 million pixels per headlamp. It is also adaptable depending on weather, traffic, and lighting conditions. Even the tail lamp signature, it has a new spine-like rib running in the center with ribs all around. This being an AMG line, you get a diamond grille up front, aggressive front bumpers, and 18-inch AMG spec wheels, side skirts, and integrated dual exhaust tips at the back. All of this adds to the gorgeous look of the C300. For a little extra, you can also buy the night package that adds blacked out elements, adding to the C-Class's stance. So this 6th generation of C-Class, it impressed me quite a lot when I first drove it almost 2 years ago. That was a C300D, but this C300, it's a different beast altogether. Sure, it's slightly more expensive with this modular update, but it is worth every penny. And if you are in a market looking for a luxury premium sedan, which looks like $1 million, it's fun to drive and brings a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel, there are very few options out there, or in fact there aren't any, because the BMW 3 Series, which is the direct rival to this, now it's only available in the long wheelbase version, and it is now focused more on luxury rather than being the ultimate driving machine. And the Audi A4, it doesn't cut it anymore. And the other two rivals, the Jaguar XE and the Volvo S60, they aren't on sale anymore. So this 2024 Mercedes-Benz C-Class, especially in this C300, guys, is the car to have. That's all from me in this video. Hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit that like button and share it forward as well to your friends and family and to your fellow enthusiasts who love fast sedans. And if you have any other questions regarding the C-Class or any other cars that I have mentioned in this video, you can visit our website www.carandbike.com. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.